In a way, the village was self-sufficient. The bakers came twice a week. There was a flowing trade in broken biscuits. A broken biscuit van came. The ice cream man came. I think there was a fishmonger's at one time. There were, of course, two shops, Charlie Bergman, Millie Low's.
Oh, there was dear Mrs. Bergman and Mr. Bergman. They had a shop down near the church. And I can remember the head teacher at the time, Mrs. Hobbs, who was lovely. Norma, will you go and collect whatever from the village shop? And I loved doing that. That was much better than doing maths or English. So I would enjoy things like that.
They sold just about everything. I can remember them coming with a tilly lamp and Mr. Bergman saying, no, you mustn't touch that mantle because, you know, the mantle is the important thing. And I had to go and put my finger through it just to prove.
What happened to the mantle?
Well, it had a hole in it, so we had to have a new mantle and put on there.
Oh dear.
Charlie Bergman sold just about everything, really. So you could get most things. People simply did not, well, they went to South Molton on market day on Thursdays if they could get there. But by and large, people survived on people calling and the two village shops. And, of course, going out, catching rabbits and supplementing your diet like that.
So I can remember, was it Tea Cottage? Is it up from the pub, next door but one from the pub? There was a little lady called Millie there.
Millie Low's was where Tea Cottage is. Very, very small. Basically, she sold sweets and little bits and pieces.
It was such a tiny little shop, not much bigger in my memory than a cupboard, but I'm sure it was bigger than that. But she stocked lots of things, which was very, very useful for the village.
Watered down vinegar, I can remember that.
That's cheeky of her.
Yeah, but, well, I suppose she used to sell tobacco and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, one of the things was paraffin. You'd go in and you'd have this awful smell of paraffin. So I can remember paraffin, but yeah, I think, well, all the things, flour, I suppose, and sugar and all the everyday things, soap. Smelly old things. I remember some of it was, but I do remember the paraffin. People coming with a little gallon can, because we all had oil lamps in those very early days.
And she was open all hours, because I'd very often go out there with my gran, like 9 o'clock of the night if she wanted some, and Millie would be open and she'd got it. So I can remember that, and I can remember the butcher's shop.
The butchers would come around, did a country round, and they would leave meat in our milk churn at the end of the lane. They did that. We had holiday makers at the farm, and Mr. and Mrs. Kettle from London were staying, and they said to Mum and Dad, Gladys, I need some meat. So Mum said, all right, we'll go to the butcher's in Kings Nympton. So my mother said, this lady would like some dog's meat. And she said, no, I don't want dog's meat. She said, I want steak. And this was for the dog. So my mother was horrified because, you know, we hadn't done things like this for our dogs on the farm. They were well fed, but not with steak from the butchers, which horrified my mum.